Hi, today is Friday, June 23rd, 2017, and this is A Swede Speaks. And since it's Friday, it's time for Swedish History of Ideas, and we are now at episode 7, which is about, the early 12th century in Sweden. So what happened in Sweden was that, Inge the Elder, who I mentioned 2 weeks ago, when he died, he was succeeded on the Swedish throne by his nephew Philip Halstenson, who was king of Sweden then from about 1105 or between 1105 and 1110 until 1118. And according to the Westrogothic law, Philip was a good king. The Hervara saga says that he ruled only for a short time and that he was married to Ingegerd, a daughter of Harald Hardrada, king of Norway. Little else is known about King Philip. He is one of the most anonymous kings of Sweden, actually. And from about 1110, Inge the Younger was also king of Sweden. He was a brother of King Philip, and Inge and Philip were both sons of King Hallsten Stenkilsson of Sweden. Inge the Younger was king until about 1125, and according to the regnal list in the Westrogothic law, he was poisoned with an evil drink in Östergötland. Reportedly, Inge was married to Ulvhild Håkonsdatter, a daughter of the Norwegian Håkon Finnsson. This Ulvhild would later marry King Niels of Denmark, and even later King Sverker the Elder of Sweden. But according to another tradition, King Inge the Younger was married to Ragnhild of Telge. Inge the Younger's death was, by the way, that was the end of the royal house of Stenkil. Ragnhild of Telge, whether she was Inge's queen or not, is an interesting person in herself. If she existed, because we don't even know that. But she is said to have founded the Church of Södertälje, which then was named Telge, but later would be called Södertälje to distinguish it from Norrtälje. And Södertälje is in Södermanland, and it is in the diocese of Strängnäs. And Ragnhild might have died in 1117. She is a local saint with an attested veneration in late medieval Sweden. After Inge the Younger's death, Ragnhild Knapphövde was king of Sweden, about 1125 till 1126. His nickname Knapphövde referred to a drinking vessel, the size of a man's head, or meaning round head, and that referred to him being foolish. It is unknown who Ragnvald's parents were. Ragnvald was elected king by the Swedes in Uppland, and he was then acknowledged in Östergötland. But when he entered Västergötland, he did so without taking Geatish hostages, and was murdered in Karleby by Geats. And if you have forgotten about the Geats, Geats was one of the two tribes that made up Sweden. You had the Geats and you had the Swedes. By now there are no Geats anymore, or you could say that they are, but they sort of assimilated into Swedes. But back then they were the Geats and the Swedes, and the Geats were the ones that gave their name to Götaland, or Gothenland. Just to clarify who I'm talking about. Anyway, these Geats, they had instead elected the Danish prince Magnus Nilsson, a son of King Niels I of Denmark, and Margaret Fredkulla. And Margaret Fredkulla, in her turn, was a daughter of King Inge the Elder of Sweden and Queen Helena. So this Danish prince was related to the Swedish royals too. And even back then, most of the royals were related one way or the other, and the Scandinavian royalties were really related to each other. They were married with each other in in many different ways. And Magnus, he was king of Sweden from the 1120s until about 1132. And it is indicated that during King Magnus's reign, Christianity was still not implemented everywhere in Sweden. So Bishop Sivardus of Uppsala was appointed by the Archbishop of Hamburg-Bremen in 1123, but he was forced to flee by pagans in 1130. So there were still pagans around. And about 1127, Magnus married Richeza, a daughter of Duke Boleslaw III Wrymouth of Poland and of Salomea of Berg. King Magnus, he had his cousin Canute Lavard, or as he's called in Danish, Knud Lavard, who was the first Duke of Schleswig, murdered in 1131. Canute was a potential rival for the Danish throne. After this deed, Magnus returned to Gothland, the southern part of Sweden, where he was recognized as king. However, civil war broke out in Denmark, a civil war that weakened Magnus's position in Sweden. And the Swedes chose a landowner from Östergötland, Sverker the Elder, as king, and this happened about 1132. Magnus, he died 2 years later, 1134, in the Battle of Fotevik in Skåne, which was then in Denmark, although now it is in Sweden. And that's all I have to say about the early 12th century in Sweden right now. Next week I intend to talk about Sverker the Elder, and I guess I'm going to talk about the houses of Sverker and Erik and how they struggled with each other, but we'll get to that next week. So I would like to thank the people who are supporting this channel through prayers, through Patreon, through PayPal. That's all greatly appreciated. And there are tiers for patrons and donors, and for information about that, look in the description box below. And if you like this channel, please subscribe so you don't miss anything. If you got something to say, comment below. If you like this video, please like it. Please share my videos on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, and whatever social media that allows you to share. And of course, I would also like to encourage you to support this channel. And I will include all the necessary information in the information box below. This is A Swede Speaks. Have a nice day.